What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of my 1951 GMC project, Project Why Wait, or the SIE GMC. You probably noticed something a little bit different about this video and the fact that the truck is actually not behind me. So the truck is now at IssyFab. Jeff is doing some wiring, firing, plumbing, all that stuff. And what I'm actually going to do today is, because the truck has left, the space in which the truck previously occupied, which was here, has become full of stuff. Since this space has been available, I've been using it for a couple of different things. I've pulled my Mazda in a couple times, done a few random things that were needed around the house, and just generally cluttered up this area. So today what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to clean this up, and then I'm going to show you my workspace. A lot of people don't really believe, or find it a little bit hard to believe, that I've been able to build my truck in this small area. This is a two-car garage filled with some car stuff, some kids stuff, some other stuff up there. It's a small area to work in, but I've made it work for the past 4 or 5 years or so. So I'm going to clean it up a little bit and show you what I have in here, some of the tools that I've had, some of the things that I've made work in this time. The truck actually won't fit quite in this space all said and done. I'm going to move all of that stuff over here so that I have a little bit wider of a space. I also have to move this so that I get as much space as possible. Really, the bench should end here to give me the space, but I haven't done that yet. I'm also going to move this grinder. I'll talk to you about this grinder after it's moved. It's a pretty cool story on how I got that. So that is going to move over to there. A few of these things are going to move over. I got to do something with this ladder and just generally clean up so that when the truck comes back, I have a space not only to park it, but to continue working on it. I am not going to time-lapse me cleaning the garage because that's super boring. What I'm going to do is the next cut will show you my nice clean garage ready to walk you through some of the tools that I have, some of the things that I've done to make the space work, and just give you sort of a walk around in my garage and how I've been able to build my GMC in here. I'll catch you in the next cut with hopefully a much cleaner garage. Okay, so I am back. It's been probably about a week since I did that last intro. If I'm just to be honest, it took me a lot longer to clean my garage than I thought it would. Once I got into it, I realized I had a lot of stuff in here that didn't need to be in here or could be moved. But one plus side about that is I actually found a whole bunch of stuff that I can sell. Everything in that pile is stuff that I can sell. This is original truck parts, LS parts, more LS parts, a turbo for my Mazda, which is actually going to go away today, rear end parts for my truck or a 3rd generation F-body, more rear end parts. Quick explanation as to why I have so many rear ends. The rear end in my truck is a 9-bolt GM rear end. It's from a 3rd generation F-body, so Trans Am and Camaro. They made those in Australia, and parts can be either really easy to find or really hard to find. I ended up having a hard time finding parts to start, and then I ended up with too many. Anyway, I should make, a couple $100 off all this stuff, so cleaning up was worth it. But as you can see behind me now, there is not a big pile of stuff, and there is now the bed for my truck where that huge massive garbage spot was before. You can probably already tell already, but my garage is not very big. It is a standard 2-car garage located in the suburb just outside of Toronto. I do what I can with it. I realized early on that building a shop and building a vehicle, my budget can't support both, so I just kind of rammed my truck in here and made do with what I have, and over time I've sort of gathered a few parts. I know a lot of you are in the exact same situation, so I figured I would show you what I've been working with and what I've been able to do with a relatively small uninsulated space. It's also not wired for 210, it's only 110 in here, but I've managed to make that work for me. So I'm going to show you kind of a couple of things. I'm not going to go too in-depth into every single tool, but I'm going to show you some of the ones that I picked up along the way that have really helped out. So as I mentioned at the beginning, building a shop or a garage and building a vehicle at the same time is really, really costly. And I found out quickly that the best way to do this is to keep your eye out for free things. And free things often show up at the side of the road. Other people's trash is other people's treasure. And I've got 3 big things in here that used to be people's trash. The first one is actually this whiteboard. This was 3 houses down from me. It was covered in previous, it was actually web development stuff on there before. And I guess they couldn't get it off because they left it on too long. A little bit of brake cleaner, and this thing is pretty much as good as new, especially for one that's in the garage. A couple more houses down from that, and actually before the whiteboard was actually this workbench right here. If you've watched any of the videos that I've done, including some of the earlier ones that I was doing before I was shooting for YouTube specifically, you will see me working on this table. It's irreplaceable in my garage. It's super solid. Whoever built it before built it pretty strong. All I had to do when I got it was cut it a little bit to get in this corner. I ended up replacing this. Actually, I didn't even replace this top sheet. I just flipped it over and put it back down. There's actually lots of pieces of wood through here and then a top sheet on top of it. So it is very heavy. It's very sturdy. I have also tack conned it to the wall and the floor, so it is not going anywhere. I added this piece of angle iron that I kind of use as a metal brake when I need a right angle and some metal. This is actually, if you look, that's my central vacuum kind of going through and underneath. What I did when I got this was I added some shelving down here. So I've got a shelf in here that holds a bunch of stuff, and then underneath, and I reinforced it. I reef on this vise a lot, and it is solid mounted. It has not ripped out, and it has been just awesome for working in the garage. Next thing I got for free is this bench grinder. If you're doing some welding or doing really anything, a bench grinder is an awesome thing to have. And I looked for a long time at flea markets, and I waited for them to go on sale, and for whatever reason or another, I never ended up buying one until my neighbor was moving and he had one sitting in his garage. He smoked in his garage, so that thing smelled terrible when I got it, but now that I've used it a lot, it doesn't smell at all anymore. It is a big belt-driven unit, so I got to be careful sort of not to get anything caught in there, and it does take up a lot of space, but this thing is a surefire workhorse. It's not the quietest thing in the world, but for $0 and working as hard as it does, no complaints on that. Moving it from over here allows me to kind of have a metal working station sort of in this general area. Beside that is my welder. This is a Lincoln MIG Pack 10. It's about 16 years old. I got it secondhand. It has been honestly one of the best shop purchases I've made. Super reliable. Never really gives me any problems, doesn't really ask for anything other than gas. And having a welder in the garage, even though that is not a 210, has been really key for sort of keeping me moving. Actually, wow, well, we're talking about free things. I also have to talk about these two shelving units. Both of these came from other people's basements. They didn't want them anymore. I took them. I put some wood into this one. I put both of them against the studs, and boom, I've got some storage in my garage. This is pretty much automotive related stuff, mostly cleaning stuff, chemicals, some bodywork stuff, and that is mostly house stuff over there. I just tried to keep it separate. I'm really trying to make this side of the garage sort of the storage and work area, and this area will be where the truck will sit, but for now it's where I'm going to work on things until the truck is done. Anytime I do a renovation in the house, I bring the stuff out here and see if I can use it. Scrap wood, cabinets, anything that could be repurposed from outside is used in here. Friends are throwing out stuff, they're cleaning out a basement. I see what they got and I try and put it in here because really I can use it to store things. Anything you can keep off the floor in the garage, I'll talk more about that in a minute, is 100% something that you should do, and it really makes working out in the garage a lot easier. These are just 2 blocks of wood. I use lots of scrap wood. I didn't want to buy a screwdriver holder. My screwdrivers had to be held somewhere. Drilled some holes, attached it to this, and it works perfectly. And you know, it cost me nothing, and it works well. It does the job. And then this is just, you know, like people would maybe throw this out or use something else to store their tools. I just mount them wherever they can go. And for now they'll work. Maybe later I'll upgrade to a different storage solution, but for now they're working pretty awesome. Inside here, this is mostly paint material and fiberglass. There's a tap and die set, some welding wire. Everything's just kind of got to get in where it fits in so that I can keep working and keep getting the job done. Keeping it going with space-saving stuff, a couple nails. You can keep your drill case here. I do not have a Black & Decker drill anymore. That's just the case, but it is good for holding stuff. You know, sockets, hammer and dolly. I've got all my electrical, you know, connectors, crimpers, cutters. They're all in this thing. That engine hoist actually doesn't belong to me, but funny enough, engine hoists are a bit of a pain to store. So I borrowed it from a friend to move my engine around, and I'm pretty sure he borrowed it from a friend. It's just kind of going around and around to people who really don't want to store it, but it fits in that corner right now, so it's going to stay there. In a similar notion to the screwdriver holder, I have my jack stand holders. You can totally buy jack stand holders. I just put 2 nails into this stud and it holds them. I have a lot of jack stands because I have needed to support my cab and support my frame at the same time. The bed is on jack stands right now. What I've found is you generally can never have too many jack stands. Rear ends, front suspension, A-arms, all sorts of stuff needs to be held up. So I would say that if you ever do see jack stands on sale, get them and then figure out a way to store them not on the ground. because that's really the best way to keep it so that you can walk around. Did some of my other videos when I was like in the throes of work. It gets really cramped in here really quickly and it gets hard to walk around. So I try and keep as much stuff off the floor as possible. Not always the easiest. That is a big thing. The other thing that I've done to keep stuff off the floor is I've thrown my compressor up there. Keeping the compressor off the ground, it just makes it a lot easier. I don't have to worry about the hose being wrapped up in things, tripping over it, having to plug it in all the time. It's just a really good solution. And again, if you have the space, if you have some scrap wood, that is definitely scrap wood holding that up there, but it is pretty solid. I would say get it up off the ground. One thing that I would like to do is also put my shop vac up in the air, but I need a longer hose for that. And like I said, that's gonna cost me some money. So once I come across a couple extra bucks or do buy a longer hose for my shop vac, it's gonna go up too. As I mentioned, my garage is not insulated. The door does have some insulation, but the rest of it isn't. If I had one regret before starting to work in this garage, it was that I didn't insulate it. Late January, February through to like early March, it can get really cold in here. And it actually does slow down what I can do. I've tried a couple of different heaters. I've had a propane sort of pushing heater. I have a small sort of space heater on the bench there. And then this thing, the radiant dish, has actually been sort of the best solution. I can drag it around where I need to be and it heats me instead of trying to heat the area. Trying to heat the area is basically a lost cause. So you just got to try and heat yourself if you don't have a heater in your garage. And propane is really expensive after a while. And it leaves condensation, which rusts metal and rusts tools. And there's the weirdness where you got to make sure you're getting enough ventilation or you're going to kind of suffocate yourself. So I found this heater to be a pretty good compromise. I also I wear 2 hoodies, a jacket, long johns when it's cold, just anything I can to keep myself warm while I'm out here in the garage. Absolute must-have in any shop is a fire extinguisher. Thankfully, I have yet to have to use that thing, but I know exactly where it is at all times, and I make sure that it is charged and valid and ready to go in the case that I do have to use it. I don't actually have water in here, so that would be my first step before running out to get the hose, which is at the side of the house. Last thing that I'd like to say before I head to the outro is that if there were any 2 modifications that I would do if money was not an object, the first one would be insulation and the second one would be lighting. I have 2 fluorescent lights in there. I think there's 4 tubes in them each. They're all weather ones, so they do fire on pretty quickly. Actually, I think they're LED ones now because I think the all-weather ones actually weren't all that great when it gets down to like 30 below. But anyway, I got those things, and then I have one of those like 3-pronged LED ones where you can kind of move things around just in a normal light socket. It's pretty bright in here. The camera doesn't always reflect that depending on where I'm standing, because like if I look this way, it's probably either lighter or darker than if I'm over here. But it is bright enough for me to work in. But you know, better lighting would be one upgrade that I would love to do. And then, like I said before, insulation is something that I want to consider doing at some point, probably when the truck is on the road. Insulation is going to be a big job though, because I'm going to have to pull everything out, insulate it, and then put everything back in. And having just pulled everything all down to work on the garage, if you check this photo, that was a huge mess. I'm not really looking to jump back into that yet, but that would be an upgrade that I would do if I was to sort of start working on the garage. So I didn't have to run the heaters that I do, or if I do have it insulated, I could get an electric heater that would work way better than any solution that I've had so far. But like I said, it's a balance of money into the shop or money into the truck, and I want to be able to drive my truck, so I tough it out. So if you couldn't tell, the next thing I'm going to be working on is patching the metal of this bed. It is pretty rotten. It's got, you know, some holes here, holes there, holes there. That bedside isn't nearly as bad. I am actually, right after I shoot this video, I am going to go to Metals Plus here in Durham and grab some sheet metal to patch those areas. Bedsides are super expensive, so I'm going to patch them rather than replace them. So that will be sort of the next thing that we do. Actually, I lied. There's probably going to be one video between this one and me getting into the bed work, which is going to be me going over to IssyFab and checking up the status of my truck. It's also going to be another little bit shorter video, but it should really show you what Jeff has been doing and how far along the truck has come. I'm really stoked on his progress so far. So thanks for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up. Let me know in a comment if it is something you'd like to see. If there's something more you want to see in the garage, also let me know and I might throw that into another video. I didn't go tool for tool and shop for shop because while I do have a security system out here, I don't want someone coming along and stealing a lot of my tools. But again, hopefully looking at this kind of gave you an idea of how to make your garage space work for you. And if I could leave you with anything at the end of this video, it is keep an eye out for free stuff. It will save you so much money and it lasts and works really well. All right, thanks again. Catch you in the next one.